Hello beautiful plant people, welcome back to Reading Mindfully. My name is Ayana and today we're going to talk about my plant wish list for 2021. So let's get started. Alright, so if you watch my goals and plans video for 2021, I have about 10 plants on my wish list and I want to give myself about 12 plants for the year. But I'm only going to include 10 because I do want to give myself a little wiggle room just in case I happen to see something when I'm out or, something else catches my attention. So I'm just going to try to buy plants that are on this list next year. So wish me luck. Alright, so my first plant on this list is the Platysium elephantoides. And if you ever seen this plant, the fertile fronds just remind you of an elephant. And hence the name elephantoides. This fern is actually absolutely gorgeous. It is an Afro-American variety growing fern, as well as the growth pattern of the shield fronds resembles a ring. So if you see this plant growing in nature, the shield baskets that develop do grow in a ring around the tree, and this is to be able to catch as much debris and nutrients and rainwater as possible. And these shield fronds have developed over time due to the environment that the plant lives in. And I just love this plant. I did have it before in my collection for a short period of time. I had ordered it from an Etsy seller and it just did not arrive in the best condition. So I do want to go ahead and give this plant a try, and that way I can use it for my DIY project that I have coming up next year. But this is the first plant on my list for 2021. The second plant on my list is the Platysium Superbum. Now this is a Malayan Asiatic growing fern. It does develop these huge baskets in nature, and this is just again to catch as much rainfall and debris as possible. This fern is just so structurally gorgeous. It is just absolutely amazing to see how these things grow in nature. It is just no words to be able to describe these plants, but I would like to have them in my collection so that way I can have some different variety. You guys know I love ferns, and this would just be the icing on the cake to own some of these. The next plant is the Platysium Grande. I actually saw this plant from Plant Me Ashley's Orchid Dynasty tour, and I just could not get this plant out of my head. So the bottom of the plant does grow back, and then the shield grows up, and it's just amazing to see how this plant develops. I will put some pictures in here. This is another Malayan Asiatic growing fern, but this plant is just absolutely gorgeous. I can't wait to get this in my collection. And you'll probably hear me say that with every plant, but just to see how this plant grows structurally to be able to catch as much rainfall as possible, or any other nutrients. You see that typically the fertile fronds go downwards, and with these ferns that I have on my list, some of the fertile fronds will actually grow up, which is completely different than what you would see normally with the typical staghorn fern. The next plant on my list is the Platysmorelight, and this is one of the ferns that are very different from the other ferns on the list. The shield actually forms a ball that will wrap all the way to the base of whatever you're mounting it on. So if you see it on a tree or on a piece of mounting board, the base actually comes back and closes itself in, and this is actually developed over time to keep out a lot of moisture and humidity, because this plant doesn't like as much moisture as the other ferns, as well as the fertile fronds will actually grow up and point upwards towards the air, and actually gives it the appearance of looking like deer antlers. So this one is just completely different of the ones that I've chosen before. It is also known to be a little bit more difficult to grow in cultivation as well as inside the home, but I'm ready to try something new. I'm ready for a challenge, and I think that this fern will give me that, that edge I'm looking for. The next plant on my list is the Aglaonema Princess. And you guys know I am no stranger to Aglaonemas. I love Aglaonemas. But this one has a little bit of a different edge to it. It is a mostly green variety of Aglaonema, but there is a bit of a shimmery slash holographic nature to the leaves, which makes it all the more appealing to me. As you know, I'm running out of space in my collections, so if I did want to add more plants to my collection, they would need to be lower light plants, just so that I can add them, but I won't have to buy a whole bunch of grow lights to be able to grow those plants. So with Aglaonemas and other lower light plants, you can place them almost anywhere. So that's why I have another Aglaonema on this list, besides the fact that it's absolutely gorgeous. And I would probably put this in my room just because I do want a little bit more greener in there. I also want to put on my list the Golden Zebra Bamboo Fern. Now, I had this fern before and I made the mistake of putting it outside where it got terribly burnt and it just did not bounce back the way I thought it would. So I'm going to try this plant again. This plant is just so different than other ferns that I have. It does have that zebra stripe pattern to the leaves. There is just the regular form of green, but then added to it is that chartreuse that a lot of my plants, or a couple of my plants, have. But this fern is just so beautiful, and then the way that it unfurls is just so interesting. It's kind of like my Australian fern, but I just loved having this plant in my collection the first time. I do want to go ahead and redeem myself and give it another try because I know that I will be able to grow this plant. Another plant that I want to try again is the Crocodile Fern. Now you may say, oh, the Crocodile Fern is not that hard. It's not, but I have had bad luck with this Crocodile Fern. I've had two before. The first one I ordered had a little slug issue, which the slug just came in and munched on all the leaves, and I just, if there was one pest or a couple pests, if I'm being honest, slugs is definitely on the list. So that plant went outside where it stayed, and I just could not deal. The second crocodile fern that I had got infested by spiders. I mean, every time I went to it, it just had so many spiders, just nested all in there, and I couldn't handle it. So I want to try this plant one more time, and if it just does not work for me, if another critter decides he wants to come in and make it a home, that'll be the last time I will ever own a crocodile fern. But after seeing my mom's crocodile fern from Plant Arena, I want to try this plant again because it is so beautiful, and I'm so sad that it has just not worked for me so far. But we're gonna give it one more shot. The next plant is the Syngenia Loukatrika, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but I'm probably not. This is a caudex plant, and no, I don't really own any caudex plants, except for you could kind of say the money tree is a caudex plant, but I don't have any caudex plants in my collection. I do want to give them a try because they are so structurally beautiful. I just feel like it would just really add the most depth and texture to my collection. These Syngenias do come in a potato-like tuber, through which they grow the most beautiful silvery furry leaves, and I will put in pictures so you guys can see how pretty this plant is. And now I don't have any silver plants in my collection besides the silver that you can see in some of my Syndapsis, but this plant is just beyond gorgeous. The furry silver leaves that pop out of this plant are just so cute. And not only is it just the most pretty plant that you ever seen and the most interesting texture that you ever seen, it's also a shade plant, which makes it perfect for my collection because then I can put it in my northeast facing window, or I could put it in, my other window. I could put it under a grow light. Like, I don't have to make additional space for this plant because it is a lower light plant. It's a shade variety, so it does well in north windows, east windows, west windows if you have a shade. So that just makes it perfect for my collection since I don't have to go out and buy any extra lighting, and it just makes it another reason why I just want to give it a try. And the second to last plant on my wish list is the Dioscoria Tippies. Now this plant is structurally beautiful. This plant does come in a potato-like tuber, like in the previous one I mentioned before. However, over time and after many years, the potato-like tuber actually develops these fissures that look and give you the appearance of an elephant's foot, hence the name Tippies. And with this plant, it does develop these little cute heart-shaped leaves that develop on a little, vine. And the only difficulty I would probably have with this plant would be probably trying to get a kind of watering schedule going on, because you don't want to water these plants too much because of the caudex. They do hold a lot of the water in the plant, in that little trunk or tuber. So I would have to learn how to, water these plants, as well as it does work on a different timetable than other plants. So this plant mostly grows in the winter and spring and takes a bit of a rest in the hot summer months. So I would have to reframe my mindset to be able to take care of this plant and make sure I'm not overwatering it, and also making sure that I give it the rest period that it needs, because it does need that rest period to be able to grow. And the last plant that I have on my list is the Stefania erecta. Now, this plant is so cute. Again, it has a potato-like tuber, and then it sprouts these little peltate leaves, or you can also call them little green parasols, which I think are just so whimsical. For some reason, it reminds me of Mary Poppins, and every time I look at this plant, it just uplifts my spirit. So I love having plants in my collection that are just not only beautiful, they just give you that childlike feeling, like everything is going to be okay and it's just going to be a great day. And that's what I get when I look at this plant. So that's why I want to add it to my collection, because I love waking up in the morning and looking at my plants and just feeling like, everything is going to be okay no matter what happens, that day. Now this one is a more highlight plant, so I would either have to put it under my Syngenia or I would have to put it outside for the summer. But in order to get it to grow and for the vines not to be elongated and to have nice sized leaves, I would have to give it more light. So this plant would not be one that I would buy, right off the bat. I would either get it if it was a good deal, a good price, or I saw it in person. But this one would be more of a plant that I would wait later on in the summer, or maybe early summer, just so I can have it outside most of the summer to get some growth. But this would not be one that I would just go out and buy right away, just because I want to make sure that I have the conditions, or will have the conditions, to be able to take care of this plant. Alright, so those are all of my plants that I have on my wish list so far. That was only about 10 plants. Like I said, I'm going to give myself about 2 plant wiggle room. I really don't want to buy over more than 12 plants next year, just because I already have a big enough collection. And like I said in my goals and plans video, my main priority is to take care of the plants that I have, as well as to work on a plant schedule / pest maintenance and prevention. So I hope you guys enjoyed my list. It's not like a huge list of all these plants that are so expensive, and all these plants that are so out of reach. Of course, I do have the Philodendron serpens that I always want. However, that plant is just skyrocketing in price. It was $70 on Ecogenera, and now it's $100. As well as I talked to a local seller, and he said that plant would be going for $500, and I cannot pay $500 for a plant. So it will be forever that plant that just, is the model wish list plant but I will probably never get. So alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed my wish list. Thank you for watching my videos as usual, and liking and subscribing. Please subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, so that way you know every time I upload a new video. And as well, please like my videos. It really does help the channel and help me to produce more content for you guys. But I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.